Ronnie.
Stevie.
Okay, so it's Alexander Lawrence, the Portable Infinite, and we're here with Ron and Steve from 2020. I mean, there's been a lot of history books about the 40 years ago, the punk era. This is like ones like this.
Yeah, John Doe's.
John Doe came out a few years ago. He like signed it. I think he signed it. Yeah, a lot of the guys that wrote things like signed it for me.
Sweet, man.
But like when you hear a lot of telling stories of the early scene, like when me and Steve were talking about bands playing original music versus cover bands and stuff. I mean, in that whole history, 78 to 82, where things kind of transformed and there was like a new wave. I mean, 2020 were there too. I mean, they kind of paved the way for a lot of bands in a way. I think. Uh, so I was talking to Steve. What Ron? Let me ask you first. What do you think it was like when you first came to LA? Did you think like you were gonna have to be a cover band, or you were coming here to get signed? Was that what you were doing?
Yeah, when Steve and I were playing back home in Oklahoma, we had already started doing some of our originals. We knew that was the direction that we wanted to go. And when Steve came much earlier than I did at the end of the previous year, I came out after I got out of school. We started playing. We were strictly playing originals. We had no thought of being in a cover band at all. And I was thinking, it's interesting. We're talking about this. I was thinking about this just the other day. I don't know that there's been a much more fertile time for new music than it was when Steve and I first got there. There were places to play that paid you money. You didn't have to pay them to play. They were great venues with really good sound, lights, all pro setups that were a band like 2020 before we were signed, an unsigned band could play and attract crowds and get some fans. So the short answer to your question is no, we were never going to be a cover band in California. We were always going straight up for our originals.
So yeah, let me just say again that 2020. I mean, started in the 70s, but and they did the records, the first album. I have it right here, 2020,
Yes.
and um, they have a new record that just came out that I was listening to today. So they're playing a show at Zebulon, so everybody should go down there to Zebulon and buy some merch and stuff. It's April 12th at Zebulon, and check it out. So getting back to, I would listen to some of your other interviews, and it seemed like you guys. I mean, there's a lot of great songs in this album. I mean, not only Yellow Pills, but Cherry, this Remember the Lightning, She's an Obsession. I mean, like the fifth song, the fifth best song on this album is maybe like I mean, I would if you take that, is that like the fifth single? That would be like most people's careers. It's like what the Tonight We Fly, you know. I wish I wrote like 150 songs. I wish my best song was as good as your eighth best song on this album, you know. It's kind of
Hey,
weird, but you guys, it seemed like you listened to the early demos and you get to this album. I mean, there's a lot of material. How many songs have you written like in that time, that 5 year period?
not really a clue. We haven't tallied anything up, but you're right. There were a lot of songs that didn't make the first album, and then we'd already moved on to doing the second album. So they've never really come out except for a bad bootleg. I bet you heard on the internet, right?
Yeah, there's some YouTube stuff like or live at Madame
Met
Wong's.
live at Madame Wong's, and you can, but it's still you can hear the energy and everything in a lot of songs that we never have recorded.
So you play. I mean, we were mentioning a few of the places. I mean, you played the Whiskey, the Roxy, the Madame Wong's, the Golden Bear, the Troubadour. I mean, there was like a whole scene kind of happening there. Did you play the Cuckoo's Nest in Orange County
Yeah.
ever?
Yeah, we did. We did. Is that Costa Mesa?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we also played the Starwood quite a bit.
Oh yeah. I saw you there. Yeah. I remember. Yeah, that was yeah. I mean, if you look at the Starwood, they have some pages online. I mean,
Yeah,
you guys kind of went from headlining a show, and then you come back 3 months later and you'd play 2 nights, and you did that for a while. Like
Yeah, there was a period there when the first album came out that we were
yeah, you were,
playing. We played the Whiskey 3 nights, I think. So it was.
yeah, you were kind of.
So,
So, you were kind of like one of the main. Like when you hear a lot of those bands from this time from these books, 2020 and Gary Valentine, the No is like some of the bands that were there, but you don't really hear about those bands as much. But like Gary Valentine was basically, he was like the Madame Wong's band, basically, in the early days.
he
Yeah.
was on the. Well, we were I think Ron, were we the second band to play Madame Wong's?
We were. Gary was the first, and then the next. I don't know if it was the following Tuesday, but it was very soon afterwards. We played, and then people started circulating through there. It was a good place to play. The load in was a bitch, I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah.
Up those stairs.
Moving that Ampeg amp.
Yeah,
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 exactly.
it's more like going to England or something and having to
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
down some real narrow stairs. But so I wanted to ask you about Bomp Records and Greg Shaw. Greg Shaw was like he was really into Nuggets and the garage rock. He was into the 3 minute song. What was your sense of Greg Shaw and Bomp Records, like your experience with him in those
Well,
days?
I got out there. I either met him probably the beginning of '77. I actually was playing in Billy Zoom's garage with John Doe and a drummer named Blaze, and we were each doing our own kind of thing. And then, so at that point, Billy said, "Hey, there's this thing at Bomp." They had a store, I guess, in Burbank or
Right.
somewhere right over the valley, right over the hills into the valley. And so that's where I met a bunch of people from Buffalo, including Mike Gallo, and I met Greg Shaw, and he just seemed like like a very nice kind of he looked like Brian Jones. Always had that look in the coat, and just kind of like he was like a star of that scene, really, of his own place. And what a mind about all the music. He knew every band and everything that ever happened. So I had a little single that Ron had played on that I was starting to shop, and he decided to put it out as a single. And at that point, by then we were already forming 2020 and put that out as our first single.
Ron, do you want to say anything about Greg Shaw at all?
Well, I didn't know him as well as Steve did, but he was definitely a main influence in the career of 2020. He had a night at the Whiskey Bump night, and there were a lot of bands, and we were put on at the very last minute with no guarantee that we were going to play. And then toward the end of the night, he finally got us on. We got to use the headliner's gear, and my recollection, Stephen, you can correct me, please, if I'm terribly wrong, is that we just killed it. We were pumped up and ready to go. We did a Hippie Hippie Shake, the Swinging Blue Jeans track, and some of our original songs, and it was a big night for us, and it seemed like that kind of catapulted us into another level.
Well, Ron, there's a lot. If you look online, there's a lot of pictures of you like jumping and like getting like some air and stuff. Is that one of your signature moves?
Oh man, I can jump like I jump like crazy. Hell, I'll jump for you right now. You want to see some jumps? I'm your man.
Okay, calm down a bit. Okay, so like
Oh wait, I'd like to see a jump.
Let's keep it. We'll keep it for the end, maybe. Okay, so like yeah, we mentioned Madame Wong's and some of these clubs. I mean, what like in the early days, like you went around with a tape to Madame Wong, and here's our band, and she would listen to the tape or the clubs, or how did you get on some of these bills?
I think she did that later, but there was a guy named Paul Greenstein or something, Ron. But he's the one that started Madame Wong's
Oh yeah,
Chinatown.
yeah. He was right.
And we at one point so we were we started playing there, and then we did an every Tuesday night, and that really helped everything. But Ron, didn't we have to bring our own PA? We rented from someone, and then it blew up. It caught fire at the end of the
I
night
remember. I remember that.
when
Yeah.
Phil Seymour was singing "Slow Down" by the Beatles, and and we were like, "What the hell?" And then it sat and smelled in our apartment for a long time till we gave it back to that guy. But Paul actually started Madame Wong's and everything. So
Yeah. Well, let's just talk about the first album a little bit. Let's see if I get it's like stuck here, but here's the first album, everybody. And it's still got this glassy thing. I mean, like, is this album? Is it like all like? Is it like, are you playing together, or is it like just you just did a bunch of takes, or was it played live, or did you do bass and drums first, or some kind of?
No, it was live to 24 track in at Sound City through a Neve console, and then we overdubbed our vocals, and I think we might have overdubbed a synth part or two. Steve might remember
or
better.
piano or a solo maybe.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the basic tracks were cut live, and my recollection is that we didn't click. Is that what you
Okay.
think? We didn't use a click?
I don't remember a clip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I looked at some videos, and it seemed like Ron always had like the P bass and the Fender cabinet, and Steve always had the Gibson guitar. And I don't know if you used a Marshall or a Fender Twin. What did you use that pretty much all the way through?
I think I used a Fender Twin maybe at first, and then we got Music Man amps.
Okay.
That I don't know why we did that. It was just something we did, but I had two. Me and Chris both had two of them, and they were extremely heavy. But we had someone moving the gear, and they sounded pretty good.
I think what didn't you guys get those through an endorsement deal?
maybe,
I don't
maybe something
remember
like that.
buying them. And I when I first came to town, I had a first generation Music Man Stingray bass and then I had it then we painted our guitars various colors. I painted that one red. And then I had a P bass that was made by parts by Pat Foley, the late Pat Foley. And it was a good, fairly good guitar. And then I also had a Rickenbacker that I played some, a 4001.
Okay. And the second album, I have the second album here, is Look Out, and it has a great song Nuclear Boy on there. Super catchy, has a hook like on every part of the song is a hook almost. And that was done like live takes too.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's the four of us playing live, and then I think Steve overdubbed the B3 part, and then we overdubbed some vocals.
But as I remember, that one in particular, we had done some demos, and it was a song you wrote, and then it morphed, and then I kind of had more of a different chorus that it ended up being, and we really got together and put that song together. Does that seem accurate?
Oh, absolutely. I think you did much more than provide the chorus. I seem to remember us bouncing that little bit around for quite a while until
Yeah.
you put it together.
So I mean, there's also this record. You guys played on or were you on all the tracks or just a couple?
Couple. I think Ron was. I don't even know if we were playing at the same time on that.
Is this done like right after the first album, or this is done like right after this one?
Or it was done. Yeah, it might have been done right. Maybe that's how we met Richie Podler and moved over there for the second album. I can't remember, but Ron, maybe we did play on a song together on that.
What's your memory of this? Is that a sound studio or also, or where'd you do that one at?
That was a. Go ahead.
American Recorders.
Okay.
Richie
Right,
Podler.
right on Ventura.
Yeah. Next to Fat Burger.
Yeah.
Is it still there?
I'm sure it's not. No.
Okay.
Oh, I wish it was.
Do you guys go to Okie Dogs there?
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so
Teriyaki does, yeah.
so like how so like me and Steve were talking before about like bands used to go and gig as much as possible in LA and try to get seen by the record labels who had like moved here like during the 70s. And I understand that there was a lawyer that had like a tape of yours and he went around trying to make a deal with all the different labels. How did you meet this lawyer and how did that go about?
Well, that's David Altrell, I think, is who we would be talking about. And my recollection is that we got written up in the LA Times and the calendar section, and that we took that article and a tape to the law firm that Mike Gallo knew about. I don't remember if he was working there or if he knew somebody there, but they put us with David, who was a junior partner. But the law firm turned out to be a really good fit for us. They had Dylan and Streisand, Neil Diamond, a bunch of other Columbia artists, and I think that's how one of the ways that we migrated to CBS. But we auditioned for just about everybody, I think. And we had interest from everybody. It was a good time to get a recording contract, that's for sure.
So there was a lot of meetings at SIR, and they would just
That's right.
people would just show up and check. Yeah, yeah, you
Yeah.
had like a meeting with Clive Davis or something, right?
Yeah, that happened at SIR, yeah. He
Yeah,
already
it's
had White Twilly, so he didn't need us.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, Clive Davis. I mean, like forever. I mean, for all the great bands he's associated with, there's a lot of turkeys out there too. You know, I don't see what the big deal with Clive Davis is really.
Well, he's had a long career. I don't, I mean,
Well, but he got fired
yeah,
for whatever payola back in the '60s, I think, or something.
yeah, he kind of died and then came back. His career would just come back. So
Yeah, it
he
happened.
wrote it all.
Yeah, it just you gotta live a long life and have longevity, I guess. So how did you? Out of all the producers, I mean, you could have done all the producers. You picked Earl Mankey to do the first record. I guess he was known for being in Sparks back then. How did you get associated with him? Whose idea was that?
How did that happen, Ron?
Well, I think he was among a list that Steve and Mike put together. I was kind of keen on Earl because he was working at Brother Records at the time,
Oh yeah,
and his he had a great musical sense. He was good at engineering, but he was also really good at the theory and the music and end of things. And I don't know if you've ever met him, but he's a great person, and he's very um, nurturing and very very helpful. Um, that's the way I remember. We did talk to a couple of other folks. Uh, Kenny Laguna, Steve, Kenny Laguna, the power,
We met with a lot of producers. Some of them just seemed like 2 weeks. It's kind of like stab us, throw us over their back. And Earl, we could tell was going to do a good job. He picked Sound City, and the combination to get to work there was amazing. And maybe we should have gone with Earl for the second, but I think CBS was hoping we would get commercial success too.
yeah. This record. I mean, I was in high school like '78 to '82, and I mean, if you listen to K Rock or lived in Southern California, I mean, Yellow Pills or some song from this album was on the radio almost every day, or sometimes
Yeah.
like twice a day. I mean, is this record a concept record? I mean, we have like songs. It kind of a lot of the songs like Tonight We Fly and Jet Lag and I guess even The Sky Is Falling, or they seem to refer to some kind of flight, like you're in an airplane or something. Is this like a long airplane flight around the world or something? Is it like a concept record? Is that the concept?
I wish we'd have thought it through that well. I don't think we did.
Yeah,
So
we're up in the sky a lot. I guess that's it.
so I mean, there's a lot of talk about power pop. I mean, I don't know what it means. You know, a lot of bands are kind of lumped together. I mean, I just kind of, I mean, I just think there was a bunch of bands. I mean, 2020 and like the punk bands and the new wave band. I mean, I kind of, as a listener, I kind of liked all of them. I didn't really distinguish. Oh, these guys are, you know, or you guys were like the more like the Jam than whoever. You know, and I mean, like I've heard it described power pop as being sort of like bands that like the Beatles, they like the Beach Boys and the Byrds or something, and maybe there's like Rickenbacker guitars. I mean, you guys didn't really use a lot of Rickenbacker, um, and even the Beatles, they kind of like. I remember the '70s. I mean, there was a couple weird Beatles solo records that really, you know, I mean, maybe Wings had a couple good singles. They had that Mulligan Tire thing in '77 that wasn't so great. You know, and John Lennon like retired for about 5 years. I mean, and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of bands with harmonies and, you know, guitars and I mean, what do you think about this whole concept of power pop? And does it relate to what you were doing or
Well, I think it could be a useful thing where if you like one band, um, like let's say you like the Who and you like the Beatles, well, there's some 2020 influence took a lot of influence from those two things. So just to have a label, a genre label, lets you maybe move things around in the commercial space in a way that it wouldn't if you were something totally unique that had nothing to compare it to.
Steve, you have anything to say about that?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it had to do with that we were like the third generation of rockers at that point. I mean, there was the 50s, first rockers, then all the English invasion, American bands. And then it kind of went a bit more into prog rock. And we loved Bowie and we loved the Beatles and we loved a lot of things that were going on. But it, it kind of came back to rock and roll with shorter songs and um, like even Dwight Twilley and Tom Petty had that same sensibility. So it was kind of like our generation were very influenced by those other shorter song generations. So and rock music got very a lot of long solos and very
Focus.
one side of an album, which is great. I like a lot of that, but it was not just us; it was all these people kind of our age in the 20s that were ready to do their thing. I think more than and there was some that were more on the punk side, and some that were more on the melodic and we already know how to play side. So we kind of fit in between there a little bit.
Yeah, I've talked to like Prescott Niles of the Knack, and he claims that he doesn't think the Knack were a power pop band because they didn't have any harmonies. It was just Doug Fieger singing by himself most of their
Yeah, I
album.
mean, none of us really saw it as a label. I think most people don't. But when I listen back now that I know what kind of I've heard more things they call power pop, I definitely see where we are power pop. We can be put in that. We could just be put in rock or the categories. It just seems like that one kind of makes sense.
Yeah, well, Tom Petty and maybe the Cars don't really get stuck with that label so much. They just kind of like their own thing or something. You know, it's like,
But Cheap Trick does. I mean, they're
oh,
included in that, and
all right.
a lot of other uh, things. So I don't know. It's just it's we kind of accept it now.
What about your publishing? I mean, I talk to a lot of bands, and what did you do? You own like the masters to all your earlier records and all that, or did you have a good publishing deal? Or I mean, you had that lawyer with the tape, and
We did. We hung on to our publishing. Steve and I did, and I think the other two fellows did as well, until after the first record came out. So we eventually got I think a fair deal with Bug Music. As far as ownership of the master recordings, that's something that's kind of being litigated right now. So that's up in the air. We are part of a class action suit with a whole bunch of other bands that are trying to get the rights back to their masters.
Right.
It is a very long process, and you never know how that stuff works out.
But it could happen soon. It's with Sony, I think, right?
Right.
And some of the other labels have given artists their masters back. And we're hoping that they do. We own the master to the third album and the one since then. So
yeah. So you have this new album out. I mean, you were gonna play some shows about 5 years ago, and then we had like the COVID, and now we're playing. Now we're finally here, 2025. And Zebulon, are you gonna play more shows around the country, or is it just the LA show?
well, we're starting with this one, and then we do hope to play some more, and we'd like to play, the right amount, but we're just going to kick it off with this one and see what comes from that.
But the set that we've got put together is pretty good. It's pretty rocking. It's got a lot of the songs from the first two records, and then a couple from the new record. Something from Sex Trap. So it's an adventurous, high volume energy set. So I hope we do get to do it some more. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah, you should. I mean, everybody else is out there, but yeah, I mean, bands should. I mean, a lot of these contracts were signed before, streaming and a lot of these things going on, and I mean, music was on a lot of compilations, and it's should be licensed. I mean, I'm surprised it hasn't been used in commercials and uh, in some way.
We are too. We would enjoy that. I think
Yeah.
a lot
Use
of
it
them
out there, people. People like music supervisors. Get on the ball. Where if people want to get in contact with you, where should they go? The Facebook group or what's the best place to buy your music or check you guys out?
Well, we're on. If you go to Big Stir Records, they will send you. There's a link that goes to Orchard, but you can buy records through them, and or go to just go to Big Stir Records. But if you want to communicate with us, we're on either with them or 2020 The Band is our Facebook.
Yeah, we'll put a link. I'll put a link to that in the.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
And yeah, so the show's coming up. It's almost 2.5 weeks away.
That's it.
The pressure's on. Is there going to be a lot of merch? Are we gonna have like T-shirts, or all the records are going to be available?
Well, I know the albums and the CDs of the new album Back to California will be there. They may have some T-shirts, and I think the opening acts, Lanny Flowers and Danny Wilkerson, will have albums too. I mean, they're both doing a set for us. They're both with SpyderPop. But yeah, we'll have those. We'll definitely have albums and CDs.
How do you guys? How have you been working in the last couple of years? I know you're. Are you, Ron? You're in Austin or Tulsa? Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm in Austin, and I own a recording studio.
Okay.
That's my day job. It's called Jumping Dog Studio. Been here for about 20 years.
And Steve, we got a visitor here, Steve.
Yeah. Say hi, honey.
Hi.
You're part of it. Got a third person in the interview. So Steve, where are you living? You're not in Austin, I guess. So
no, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, and
Music City.
I keep pretty busy playing in like 3 or 4 different things, and so I'm busy kind of playing live more than I used to do a studio like Ron, and kind of quit doing that, but I'm still playing a lot. I'm a working musician.
Yeah, you've been doing it the whole time. You didn't take a break.
Well, being a musician is like you're playing when you're working, so
yeah,
until you're hauling the gear and all that stuff.
So we're gonna have this show. Are you gonna? Is there a next album? What are we talking about here?
What do you think, Ron?
Well, when Steve and I were last together, we played each other some bits and pieces that are promising. So I hope we get to make another record. You never know. I was surprised that Back to California came out as good as it did. So maybe another record is warranted.
Is
People
that
seem to like the record Back to California. So,
yeah, yeah. Well, is that how you always worked? You just guys kind of like wrote yourselves and then you kind of presented the songs to each other?
Most of the time, and then we'll help each other with the song. If we lived in the same town, we could get together and have some writing sessions too.
So I mean, I noticed like the Beatles, you guys aren't a chorus band. You're not like a verse to chorus. It's more like a verse and maybe a refrain or something. And the Beatles are one of the bands that do that a lot.
Maybe some of them have a chorusy thing. I haven't even checked lately. Maybe you're right.
No, I mean, like a stand. I don't think you have like. I mean, yeah, some songs have a chorus, but like sometimes you guys just kind of, just have verses sometimes.
and then you're saying that there are refrains that are
Yeah,
lyrics that repeat that could be called a chorus or a refrain.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
more like a refrain than a chorus.
I think you may be right about that. I never
Yeah.
thought.
I mean, early, like Yellow Pills has a chorus. Nuclear Boy has a chorus. So have we dropped our choruses, Ron?
Well, I think like Sherry doesn't really have a,
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm talking about. I guess.
and I guess Remember the Lightning is the same way. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah. It's just what you call it. Oh, Sherry, open up the door. Could be a chorus.
And
So
that
many great
and
songs.
Steve came up with that line right there.
I
So
did not.
It's very catchy. Yeah, Sherry, Nuclear Boy, Yellow Pills, very catchy.
Yeah.
There's a gift there. So,
Thank you, man.
well, thanks for talking to me. I think everybody should go. Everybody in LA, line up, go to the show, pay these guys. Give their rights back to them. Get all their publishing back so they can put out
Yeah.
like nice, box set and like nice additions and the early stuff. And I would look forward to that. And I'll be the first one. I'll, put a pre-order and I'll like type it down right now. Pre-order
Oh,
that.
man, you're great. Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll see you
thank
at
you
the
so much.
we'll see you at the show. Thanks for talking to me today, and we'll see
Thank
you at the
you.
show, and I'll be there if you do some more. Okay.
Look forward to meeting you.
Look forward to it, man. Thank
Let's
you.
see. Let's see what we got here.